Stop everything. No, seriously, drop the phone, step away from the snacks, blink twice, and breathe. Because what I'm about to say is the kind of breaking news that makes the internet spontaneously combust. Kandi Burruss, yes, that Kandi, the Grammy-winning powerhouse, the business mogul, the woman who built an empire out of glitter, hustle, and unmatched confidence. Well, her entire world just collapsed in a way no one saw coming. And before you say, this has to be a joke, oh honey, even the memes are crying right now. Because according to the explosive reports flooding every corner of the internet, Kandi Burruss isn't just in trouble. She is allegedly facing the kind of life sentence that ends careers, destroys reputations, and sends fan bases into therapy. How? Why? Who betrayed who? Who leaked what? And why is the whole internet chanting, "Goodbye forever, Kandi," like it's the finale of a toxic reality show she didn't sign up for? Social media is on fire. Fans are screaming. Haters are celebrating. Todd Tucker is suspiciously silent. So buckle up? Because the scandal you thought couldn't get worse just mutated into a full-blown catastrophe. This is the downfall no one was prepared for. From the moment this whole mess erupted, people acted like they were shocked. Shocked that Kandi Burruss, the queen of polished perfection and carefully curated chaos, finally ended up at the center of a scandal so messy, it makes every previous Real Housewives meltdown look like preschool nap time. But honestly, if you've been paying attention for even 5 minutes, you already know this wasn't just predictable. It was practically carved in stone. Kandi has been dancing on the edge for years, juggling businesses, friendships, beefs, alliances, secret deals, and whispers that somehow never stuck long enough to blow up until now. This is the moment everything snapped. The moment the mask cracked. The moment the boss lady narrative got flipped inside out like a wig caught in a Category 5 hurricane. Because let's be real, Kandi didn't just climb to the top of reality TV, she bulldozed her way through it, collecting checks, enemies, rumors, and allegedly questionable business moves along the way. And every time things got suspicious, she'd flash that practiced smile, drop a motivational quote, plug a new restaurant, and boom, problem magically solved. But this time, no smile, no quote, no cameras cutting away. This time people want answers, and not the cute PR kind either. Folks want the truth that the Bravo cameras never caught. The stuff that didn't make it into reunion episodes. The kind of backstage drama that would make even Andy Cohen drop his cue cards and walk straight off set. It all started with what looked like a harmless leak, just a tiny audio clip circulating online. Nothing too dramatic at first glance. A couple bloggers grabbed it, tossed out a few theories, and everyone assumed it was just another day in the world of manufactured celeb drama. But then more clips came, and text messages, and a close associate, who suddenly wasn't so close anymore. And that's when people realized this wasn't your everyday rumor. What started as a spark suddenly felt like the fuse to something explosive, something that could actually take down one of reality TV's most untouchable names. Kandi's fanbase tried to defend her at first, rushing into comment sections like digital bodyguards in busted armor. Fake! Edited! Haters! But even they couldn't deny the voice in the recordings sounded a little too familiar, a little too calm, a little too Kandi-ish. And the stuff being said? Whew. It wasn't the wholesome stay focused and get your bag energy she's been selling for years. No. This was darker, sharper, self-incriminating in a way that made even longtime supporters stop mid-tweet, like, hold up. That's when the timeline went into full meltdown mode. Old allegations resurfaced like zombies, disputes from former employees, shady restaurant complaints, castmates who hinted at knowing more than they can say on camera, and old lawsuits that had been swept under rugs so thick they practically counted as insulation. Every unresolved scandal Kandi ever dodged suddenly felt relevant again, like puzzle pieces people didn't realize were part of the same picture until they were laid out on the table. And the picture they created? Not flattering. Not even close. People started pointing out timelines, patterns, receipts. They brought back statements from former business partners who complained about financial inconsistencies and unfair contract dealings. Anonymous sources who somehow multiplied overnight claimed they had been warning everyone for years. Commentators who used to tiptoe around her name were suddenly doing 90-minute live streams titled, "Let's Really Talk About Kandi Burruss." And through all of it, Kandi stayed quiet, completely silent. And if there's one thing people know about reality stars, it's that silence is never a good sign. Silence means something's cooking. Silence means lawyers are involved. Silence means somewhere behind the scenes, someone is panicking. And trust me, someone was definitely panicking. Because right when viewers thought the situation couldn't get worse, a second wave of leaks hit the internet, this time containing financial documents that allegedly tied Kandi to a series of business decisions so questionable they bordered on cartoonishly villainous. We're talking missing funds, suspicious transfers, projects that never launched, partners claiming they were misled, and investors who supposedly didn't receive a single dime back. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from, maybe it's fake, to, oh, this is bad. The strangest part? The leaks didn't just target one business. They touched everything. The restaurants, the production companies, the side ventures, even the charity events. Yes, the charity events weren't safe. And if there's one thing the public despises, it's the idea that someone might be playing games with charity money. That's when opinions stopped being divided. That's when even her defenders stopped defending. When charity gets involved, sympathy evaporates real fast. The internet started digging deeper. Reporters, real ones and the chaotic TikTok kind, launched their own investigations like they were auditioning for a Netflix documentary. People started calculating numbers, connecting dots, and pulling up videos where Kandi casually mentioned certain deals that now sounded like confessions in hindsight. It became a full-on digital manhunt. And every hour brought a new twist, a new leak, a new exclusive from someone who claimed they had tea that would change everything. And honestly, some of it did. The biggest shock came when a whistleblower, someone who claimed to be part of Kandi's internal team, released a message saying that everything the public had seen so far was nothing compared to what was coming. They teased a major financial discrepancy, hinted at government involvement, and signed off with a cryptic line that sent the internet spiraling. The truth is bigger than you think. At that moment, Kandi's silence stopped looking like strategy and started looking like survival. And the crazy part? This was still just the beginning. Because while the internet was tearing itself apart trying to figure out what exactly Kandi did, who she did it with, and how deep this thing really goes, authorities were apparently already watching, monitoring, gathering, preparing. And that's when the words nobody ever expected to hear started floating around. Audits. Investigations. Federal interest. Possible charges. And as the walls began closing in and the pressure mounted to a level even a seasoned reality star couldn't spin her way out of, that's when everything took a turn none of her fans were ready for. Because just when everyone thought the situation had hit its peak, the real storm arrived, loud, messy, and dripping with scandal so thick it practically clogged the internet. Overnight, new documents appeared across social media like they were falling from the sky. Screenshots, voice notes, internal memos, and what people swore were confidential financial statements allegedly coming straight from behind Kandi's polished empire. And sure, half of these files looked like they were edited using apps people downloaded from the App Store 5 minutes before posting. But let's be honest, nobody cared. If it made Kandi look guilty, it was going viral. The wildest leak claimed that money from one of her major businesses didn't just go missing, it vanished like it had been snatched by a magician. One anonymous user posted a blurry PDF titled Projected Revenue, circled numbers in red, and wrote, "Y'all, this ain't adding up." And boom, 10,000 people instantly became forensic accountants overnight. Suddenly, everyone understood business law. Everyone understood tax codes. Everyone knew exactly how a multi-million-dollar operation should run. You'd think the entire internet had passed the bar exam in the last 30 seconds. And then came the voice note. The voice note that nearly broke the internet in half. A shaky recording, allegedly taken from a private meeting, where someone who sounded dangerously similar to Kandi was heard saying something like, "Just move it. I don't care how. Make the numbers look right." Now, was it really her voice? Hard to say. Could it have been AI? Absolutely. Was the internet in the mood for nuance? Not even a little. The reactions were instant and chaotic. Some people clutched their pearls. Some screamed, "I knew it!" Some just added popcorn emojis and settled in for the show. Every commentator who ever mentioned Kandi's name suddenly had a source. Fake insiders were popping up like mushrooms after a storm. One alleged former employee claimed they were told to keep quiet or get replaced. Another said the restaurant numbers never matched. A third said something so dramatic people weren't even sure if they were describing Kandi Burruss or the plot of a soap opera. But again, nobody cared. The drama was too good. Even celebrities started chiming in. A rapper tweeted a cryptic, "Karma always comes around." A reality star from another franchise posted, "Some folks been getting away with too much for too long." Fans immediately assumed they were referencing Kandi, even though they could have been talking about literally anything from their ex to their grocery delivery service. But the internet connected every dot, even the ones that didn't belong in the same book. Meanwhile, the hashtag #Kandygate started trending worldwide. Influencers made 3-minute breakdowns. Podcasts released emergency episodes. True crime YouTubers who normally report on things like unsolved mysteries suddenly shifted to reality TV finance scandals like they'd been preparing for this moment their entire careers. And as if that wasn't enough, an anonymous whistleblower came forward again, this time claiming Kandi wasn't acting alone. They hinted at a circle of insiders, supposedly people who helped her move funds, bury evidence, and manipulate projects that were never as successful as they appeared. The phrase, "fabricated success metrics," got thrown around so much that people started using it in jokes, memes, and TikTok skits. But the biggest explosion came from what people called the master file, a massive folder posted anonymously on a forum, like a digital Dropbox filled with spreadsheets, timelines, and files labeled with suspicious names like Phase 3, Emergency Draft, and Contingency Plan. Now, did any of these things actually prove anything? No. Did they look official? Also no. But was the internet absolutely convinced the folder was real? Oh yes. Because nothing fuels drama like a grainy screenshot and a bold font. Every file seemed to be connected to the next, forming a tangled narrative that suggested Kandi had been juggling finances, partnerships, and public appearances with the precision of a circus performer, except this time, someone had yanked the safety net. TikTok detectives created infographics, Twitter analysts made 20-thread breakdowns, Instagram accounts posted side-by-side comparisons like they were analyzing a historical crime scene. Everyone was finding evidence, even in places where there was none. One person analyzed a photo of Kandi holding a pen and said, "She looks guilty in her eyes." Another claimed her outfit from a 2020 reunion foreshadowed all of this. That's when the pressure got real. Because the rumors weren't just online anymore. They started creeping into actual media outlets. Small blogs became larger blogs. Larger blogs became news features. And eventually somehow one mainstream network dropped a headline asking whether Kandi Burruss was under scrutiny for financial irregularities. The story didn't say anything concrete. It didn't reveal anything new. It just quoted social media speculation, slapped a professional font on it, and bam, instant credibility. The internet took that as confirmation. But the real turning point came when whispers of government involvement resurfaced louder this time. Words like audit, review, pending inquiry, and internal investigation started circulating. Authorities hadn't confirmed anything yet, but the idea alone was enough to ignite chaos. People began predicting indictments before any official statement came out. Some even speculated that certain businesses might shut down. And through all this, Kandi still didn't speak publicly. Not a tweet, not a video, not even an Instagram story, with an inspirational quote. Silence became her biggest enemy, and her biggest mystery. Commentators said she was strategizing. Haters said she was hiding. Fans said she was hurt. Everyone had a theory, but nobody had answers. That silence cracked only when a journalist, allegedly one with connections, claimed that Kandi's team was scrambling behind the scenes. Panic meetings, damage control calls, lawyers drafting statements, advisors warning that this was bigger than expected. Another insider said, "She didn't see this coming." Another said, "She underestimated how fast this would spread." And another claimed, "She's preparing for the worst." And the worst kept getting closer. Because now, even her allies, people who used to publicly support her, started distancing themselves. Subtle unfollows, vague posts, interview comments like, "I wish her well, whatever happens." People noticed everything. Screenshots went viral instantly. Even silence became suspicious. If someone didn't speak on the situation, that meant they knew something. If they spoke too much, that meant they were involved. There was no winning. Then came the claim that shook fans the most, that some of the leaked documents might be tied to a larger investigation involving multiple businesses, investors, and even tax records. Whether true or not, it spread like wildfire. Suddenly, Kandi's entire brand years of hard work looked like it was hanging by a thread, unraveling faster than she could possibly repair it. And that's when the real fear began. Because behind the noise, the drama, the tweets, and the leaks, one thing was becoming painfully clear. Whatever was happening wasn't going away. This wasn't a rumor that would disappear in 24 hours. This wasn't a misunderstanding that a simple public statement could fix. This was something bigger, darker, and potentially career-ending. Because the moment the public felt they finally had the whole picture, the universe said, "Wait, you think that was the climax? Oh, sweetie, we're just getting started." And then everything detonated at once. The fallout wasn't quiet, wasn't subtle, and definitely wasn't survivable, not for someone whose entire empire depended on public trust, spotless branding, and the perception that she always had everything under control. The first blow came early in the morning when a major news outlet, one that normally reports on elections and global crises, dropped an exclusive update claiming that government officials were now reviewing the situation surrounding Kandi's businesses. Now, did they confirm any wrongdoing? No. Did they state she was under formal investigation? Also no. They simply threw around phrases like internal evaluation, inquiry possibility, and external auditing interest. But the thing is, the public doesn't read details. They read vibes. They see Kandi's name next to words like audit and government review, and instantly assume she's being escorted out of a courtroom in handcuffs. By noon, speculation turned into absolute frenzy. People began posting photoshopped images of Kandi in orange jumpsuits. Fan pages turned into conspiracy boards overnight. Commentators claimed that the government wouldn't be wasting time unless they had something big. And of course, the infamous social media lawyers, those people who've never even stepped inside a courthouse, were explaining how life sentencing works in financial situations, even though none of that applied. But none of this stopped the doom spiral. The second blow came in the form of mass panic from people close to her brand. Business partners, sponsors, collaborators, everyone suddenly wanted distance. One beverage company removed her from their promotional banner without a word. A corporate partner quietly deleted a post featuring her. A charity organization she'd supported for years posted a statement saying, "We are committed to transparency and ethical practices," without mentioning her name. Yet everyone instantly knew what the message was about. And then, Todd Tucker finally broke his silence. Not with a statement, not with a video, not with support. With an Instagram story of him sitting in a studio, headphones on, looking stressed, with the caption, "Handle your business." People went ballistic. What did that mean? Was he referring to her situation? Was he telling her to fix things? Was it shade? Was it support? Was it the emotional equivalent of saying, "This is your mess, not mine"? Nobody knew. But the perception was all that mattered, and the perception was brutal. That single vague sentence hit harder than any leaked file. But the most devastating moment came out of nowhere. An anonymous source, who claimed to have direct ties to someone within the investigative circle, leaked a message saying authorities were preparing for potential legal measures if the allegations turned out to have merit. Again, no details, nothing concrete, nothing verified. But words like legal measures and potential consequences ignited a whole new panic. Suddenly, people were talking about court dates, arrest warrants, plea deals, and hearings, even though absolutely none of these things had been confirmed. The rumors mutated like they had minds of their own. Some said she was negotiating with lawyers. Some claimed she was already preparing for a trial. One even said she was considering stepping away from the public eye indefinitely, which sent fans into emotional chaos. And then the final blow came at the worst possible time. A massive crowd gathered outside one of her restaurants, partly fans, partly reporters, partly curious strangers wanting live stream content. People were chanting, arguing, crying, filming, creating TikToks titled, "Live at the Scene," even though nothing was actually happening. And that's when one cameraman shouted a rumor that echoed across the entire crowd like a lightning strike. "They say she might be facing life consequences for this." He didn't say prison. He didn't say charges. He didn't say sentencing. Just life consequences. But the crowd only heard one word. Life. And in seconds, life consequences turned into life sentence. People whispered it like a prophecy. Others repeated it like fact. Suddenly, Kandi life sentence was trending. Memes, think pieces, analysis videos, everyone spread the phrase like it was carved into the Constitution. Even people who had no idea what the scandal was about jumped in just because the drama was too delicious to ignore. Kandi Burruss, before she even had the chance to speak, was being sentenced by the internet. And the scariest part? None of it required proof. None of it required verification. None of it required context. All it needed was momentum. And momentum was the one thing spiraling completely out of control. Finally, after days of silence, something shifted. A close insider, one who had remained quiet through every accusation, revealed privately that Kandi was emotionally exhausted, blindsided by the scale of the backlash, and preparing for consequences she never imagined she'd face. Whether that meant legal, financial, or public consequences, nobody knew. But the phrasing was devastating enough to convince everyone that the situation was far worse than they originally thought. Rumors of shutdowns started. People claimed her businesses were under review. Some said investors wanted out. Customers reportedly began canceling reservations. Even her fan base was divided, half defending her passionately, half scared that the allegations might actually hold weight. And then, the existential question echoed across the entire scandal. Was this the end of Kandi Burruss? Because it was no longer just about leaked documents or anonymous files. It wasn't about TikTok analysis or blurry screenshots. It wasn't about Todd's cryptic silence or the media's vague insinuations. It was about perception, the one enemy no celebrity can outrun. Her brand was built on authority, success, leadership, transparency, and control. But now the narrative had flipped. The public saw chaos, secrecy, questionable choices, and a looming shadow waiting to swallow everything she'd built. Every hour felt like another nail in the coffin. Even though there was no official confirmation of wrongdoing, the internet had already written its own ending. In their eyes, she wasn't just in trouble, she was done. Finished. Over. The sentence was metaphorical, but the impact was very real. Her silence had become her verdict. Her leaked files became the evidence. Her public disappearing act became the confession. And the world watched in real time as the legend, the mogul, the icon Kandi Burruss, stood on the edge of a cliff no one ever imagined she'd be pushed toward. Goodbye forever wasn't a headline anymore. It was a prediction. A prediction the internet was more than ready to witness unfold.